Before you hire another expert, coach, or strategist, ask yourself this. Are you doing this from a growth mindset or a fear-based one? That is the topic for today's episode. Welcome to the Solo Grind, where we shine a light on the raw and real journey of being a solo entrepreneur. I am Teresa, your guide on this adventure of going it alone without a safety net and without the rule book. The grind is real, my friend, and so are the wins, the freedom, and the joy of building success on your own terms. I'm here to debunk the myths, share some laughs, and share what it takes to thrive as a go-getter, busy, doing it all entrepreneur. Hello and welcome to the Solo Grind. I am so glad you are here. To my loyal listeners, thank you for continuing the conversation with me. I love it when you show up. And to my new listeners, thank you for joining in. I am so glad that you are here. So if you are new around here, let me tell you a little bit about me. I am a web designer and a podcaster. I am also a dog mom, a kitty cat mom, and the mom of a couple of really cool grown-ups. And I love having really good conversations that make me think, that help me challenge the way I see the world and help me see things with fresh new eyes. And it is these really good conversations that has inspired every single other episode this month. And today is no different. So today, diving into the topic, I want to start the conversation with a question. Have you ever found yourself in one of those really awkward situations when things just aren't going as planned? Maybe you hired an expert to help you move your business forward in some way, and what you had thought would be a fantastic addition to your business has become a mismatch of expectations and misunderstandings. You are not alone if you have been there. I have been there myself. I've been there a few times this year, and speaking from fresh, still bruised experiences, it is just as painful to be the expert in this situation as it is to be the one seeking expert advice. We all want to have a magical, successful outcome to every project that we take on. When I take on a new client, I immediately start envisioning how I will help them shine as their amazing, brilliant self. And I am always eagerly anticipating incredible success. But sometimes we aren't on the same page. We start off thinking that we're on the same page, but when we get to the messy middle of a project, we have to face the facts sometimes. And that is, not only are we not on the same page, we're not even in the same book. So what do you do when you find yourself in that frustrating, even overwhelming loop of resistance and regret? That is our conversation today. And what I want to specifically talk about is first, I want to chat about how to figure out exactly where our thoughts rolling around in our head are coming from, because mindset is at the middle of this awkward situation, and mindset is the secret to fixing it. So where is our mindset? Is it a growth mindset, or are we in a fear-based mindset? Spoiler alert, there's no wrong answer to that question, and we've all been in both. Being honest is the key. The second thing that I want to talk about here today is how do we shift our focus and our mindset to finding that positive resolution, even if we are in the messy middle of a situation? And then how do we start our next collaboration off on the right foot, hopefully avoiding these awkward encounters altogether? That is what we are going to be talking about today. So grab a cup of coffee, my friends. I am using my She Built This coffee mug that is from a podcast that is done now, but incredibly fabulous, from my good friend Emily Aborn. Cheers, who helped inspire this episode. And now that I've got coffee in hand, let's go ahead and take a look. And I want to, or dive in. I'm looking at my notes here. I want to first take a look at good reasons to hire an expert, because no matter what type of business you're in, if you're a solo entrepreneur or you have a team of people, it doesn't matter. There are going to be times you bring in an expert. period. I know that for very new entrepreneurs, a lot of times we have this idea and this prideful moment that we are going to do everything ourselves. We're going to build our website and write our copy and do our own social media and all the things. And then one day we wake up and realize that we actually have a business that we want to run and we don't want to be in the weeds every day. So we start looking for the experts to help take care of those things that we don't want to do all the time. All right. And there are good reasons to hire an expert. Like I said, it's going to happen. So here's some reasons why I found that people look for experts. All right. First of all, things are going really well, and we want to either fine tune what we have already created, or we're ready to grow or shift in a new direction. Expert advice is a great thing to seek out when we find ourselves in that position as a business owner. The second reason that I have found that is a great reason to hire an expert is when things are not going well and we want to figure out how to change that. Maybe what we are doing just doesn't seem to be working no matter how hard we try. Or perhaps business is really stagnant and we're just not bringing in new leads. Maybe we've had a couple failed attempts at new products or launches, or we just didn't even achieve goals that we had set for ourselves. And the biggest reason that I myself often will seek out expert guidance is money isn't flowing in or even trickling in, and that has happened many times. So these are all good, solid reasons to hire an expert. But how well that venture goes from here. Sorry, I was reading my notes. How well that venture goes depends upon our mindset. As I said earlier, mindset is at the center of this, and where our mind is at is going to determine how well this venture goes, this collaboration goes, or how poorly it goes as well. So let's take a moment to think about a recent situation when you were working with somebody. Okay. No matter how it went, I want you to think about this and ask yourself, was your mindset or is your mindset now currently focused on business growth and you know that you need help? Are you thinking strategically and have a clear goal in mind? Or are you clear on what you need and what you want? Are you open and willing to allow an expert to guide you through this project? As you no doubt guess, this is the growth mindset. These are the ingredients in that little mindset that we all want to be in. But unfortunately, fear is a sneaky little devil, and it is really, really good at pretending to be something that it is not. So before you pat yourself on the back and say, I am in the growth mindset, I have a few more questions that I want to ask you. Are you or were you second guessing everything rather than trusting your instincts? Okay. Were you comparing your success to the success of others or thinking they have it all figured out and I wish I was that smart? Been there. Were you thinking or that you needed to find a savior to swoop in and save your failing business? That is a big red flag personally for me. And maybe you were just thinking everyone else is doing this, so I should be doing it too. Okay. If you have even a tiniest of little voices in your head saying yes to any single one of those, then you're leaning more towards a fear-based mindset. Welcome to the club, my friend. We can leave this place together. I promise. But first, I want to do a little exercise with you to make sure that you are being honest with yourself. Because again, we want to say that I'm in the growth mindset. I have a clear mind. I don't struggle. I don't have fear. We always want to say that, but it's total crap, okay? We all have fear. We all have struggles. No matter how well we try to polish what the outside looks like. So before we dive through or move forward, I have a little exercise for you to help you really determine clearly if you are in a growth mindset or a fear mindset. All right, so let's figure that out. First of all, I want you to find a quiet place where you will not be disturbed. So shut the door, keep the kittens out. Good idea. And close your eyes. And unless of course, you're in the car listening to this. If you're in the car, don't close your eyes. Pretend to close your eyes, but be looking diligently at the road. Now that you're in this quiet place with your eyes closed or pretending to close, I want you to ask yourself this question. Why do I want to do this? Fill in the blank. It could be whatever. You want to get a new website. You want to hire a copywriter. You want to look for a social media manager. You want to hire a business coach. Whatever this is, I want you to ask yourself, why do I want to do this? And in here, this is the most important part. After you ask that question, I want you to sit quietly and listen to the thoughts in your head. That is the hardest thing to do, to sit quietly. But that's exactly what I want you to do, because how your mind responds to this question is going to be a clear indication of which mindset you're in: growth, fear. Now, as you're doing this exercise, if you have this incoherent rambling of excuses and stories and nonsense, just continually giving reason after reason as to why you have to do this so that you don't become a failure, okay, that's one way. Or do you have a clear, concise answer helping you see a strategic path forward to make the changes you need without the incoherent ramblings? All right. If you have incoherent babble going on, you are in a fear-based mindset. And here's how I know that, okay? This is me putting on my life coaching hat, but I'm telling you, this has never failed me in years that I've been studying this. But fear is most afraid of not being heard. So it is going to ramble on and on and on, and make sure that you pay attention to it, okay? Your intuition is a much better guide to what you need to do, and it simply knows what you need to do. It doesn't need to work hard to convince you of anything. Simply answers the question and waits for you to decide what to do next. So, going through that exercise again, find a nice quiet place. Ask yourself, why do I need to do this, whatever this is, and really deeply listen. If it's a rambling diatribe, it's fear. If it's a clear answer, then you're in growth mindset. Okay. Now, if you were stuck in that fear mindset, don't sweat it. We all go there, and we will go there a whole bunch more times over the course of the next years of our life. All right. It's just going to happen. The key is to not stay there. Because when we make decisions from fear, urgency, pressure, whatever label we want to put on it, there is a lack of trust from the very beginning of that decision. We don't trust ourselves to lead, and we don't fully trust the person we've hired to guide us. There is uncertainty that spills over into this project, whatever it is we're working on, and you end up second guessing everything, resisting new ideas, and maybe even ghosting the process entirely. I have had it happen. Okay. This is really, really shaky ground, my friends. And even the best experts cannot do their job if the foundation is not solid. Plus, that's a lot of pressure to put on somebody, especially when you have hired somebody to be your savior. You should not be asking anyone to save you. You should be looking to collaborate so that you can save yourself. Okay. So if you are in this place of fear, again, don't sweat it. Just take a few minutes to clear it away before you do anything else. And here is what I do to clear this away. And this is a little bit of a twist on A Course in Miracles, if anybody has ever read that. It's a very dry book, actually, but it did have some really powerful lessons in it for me. And here's what I do when I'm stuck in that fear loop. First of all, I will just start saying to myself, I can choose clarity over this. Okay. I don't have to ramble on incoherently. I can choose a clear path. I can choose confidence over this. Being confident is one of the best ways to push fear aside. Okay. Fear doesn't like confidence. Okay. So it definitely will get out of its way. I can choose love for myself and what I am creating over this. Like, I don't have to. Basically, what I'm telling you is I don't have to be stuck in this fear, rambling, crazy place. Okay. I've been there. It's not a fun place to be. I can choose clarity. I can choose confidence. I can choose to love what I am creating, to love myself, to move beyond that. Okay. So there is how I let go of fear. Now, here's where we are in today's episode. We have identified exactly where our mindset is or was because we cleared it away. We did the work to shift it. Now I want to talk about how we can have that positive outcome that we've been dreaming of. Now, first I want to talk about if you're in the middle of a collaboration that is not going well. Okay. You're in that messy middle. You don't know what to do. You're overwhelmed. You're rambling in your head. You're sending boxers to your buddy because this crazy thing has happened. Okay. That's where you're at. Here is what needs to happen. It's time to have a real, honest, open discussion with everyone involved. But before you do that, I want you to get really clear before you communicate. All right. So the first thing I want you to do is ask yourself, what isn't working? And this is where it is not enough to say, I don't like it. Okay. This is your business. This is not a side salad at a bistro. This is your business. So you need to go deep and figure out what isn't working. Honestly, most of the time when this is the situation and you go deep, what isn't working is not near as big as we thought it was. It could be some minor shifts and changes that makes everything start flowing beautifully again. So by getting clear and just stop worrying about hurt feelings and being wrong or whatever, and just answering, this doesn't work for me, things can magically shift. Like, you can't even believe how incredible it is. Okay. And I have some ideas how to have this conversation here in just a moment. The second thing that I want you to do, acknowledge your role in getting to this point. Mismatched expectations and misunderstandings are not a one-sided thing. You played a role in it. You may not think you did, and maybe it's not a 50-50 thing. Maybe they were a little bit crazier than you. That's okay. There's no finger pointing in this situation to get things moving forward. You simply need to acknowledge your role and how you got here so that you can stop doing that. All right. And then open up an honest and respectful dialogue. Here, I want to share with you 3 conversation starters to help get you going, because sometimes it's not easy to know how to say, I'm not happy with this. I want to tell you why. So here's 3 ways to do it. Number 1, I've been doing some thinking and I want to share what's not feeling aligned before we move forward so we can have more clarity. Simple, easy, to the point. When you do it from this perspective, you are showing self-awareness and you are signaling that the conversation isn't about blame, it's about gaining clarity. Nobody's going to feel defensive when you come from this point. Okay. Number 2, can we take a step back for just a minute? I am realizing I wasn't as clear about what I'm looking for or about my expectations as I should have been. Okay. This opens the door for mutual ownership and helps reset the tone of a working relationship so that now you're working together, but you're also acknowledging that you need to be a better guide in what you want. Okay. Number 3, something is not clicking for me and I want to figure out why. Can we walk through this together? Okay. This especially is helpful if you're stuck in the, it's just not right, but I don't know why. Sometimes walking through it together can be a really powerful exercise. Plus, it keeps the tone of collaboration rather than being combative, and it invites a solution-oriented conversation. Okay. Now, from this conversation, 1 or 2 things are going to happen. 1, you may decide to part ways once it's all said and done, once the conversation is had, but you're in a place to do so with respect for each other. And honestly, if that is really what the best outcome is, everybody is going to feel relief when you make that decision. The other thing is that you're going to be able to find a middle ground that everybody feels good with, or a new direction, a new collaboration that opens up and feels good to everyone. Okay. Either way is a big win because now you can focus on what is really important and leave fear and the crazy talk in your head behind. All right. Now let's finish up here. I want to wrap up with how do you avoid this in the future? Because you are going to need to hire an expert in the future. And you're not always going to be in the best mindset when you decide to do so. But how do you start a relationship off on a positive ground? First of all, I say get in the right mindset. Okay. Again, just a reminder, when we go to hire an expert, we want to do so from a place of clarity and intention, not fear. So we want to make sure that we are focused on business growth and know that we need help. Okay. We need to be ready to think strategically and have a clear goal in mind. And by a clear goal, I'm talking, for example, I want to have a new website that represents who I am today in business versus I want a website that's going to bring all my dream customers knocking on my door immediately. That's not a clear goal. Okay. That's a pipe dream. But having a good website that truly represents who you are so people can connect when they're ready, that is a clear goal. And that comes down to being clear about what exactly it is that you need. Okay. You need a website, not a magical moment come true. Also, be open and willing to allow that expert to guide you through the project. Okay. You are hiring them for a reason. Listen to their expertise. You don't have to agree with everything. Absolutely not. But you do have to listen to their expertise and be willing to accept the consequences when you do not follow that expertise. That is your responsibility as the business owner, not the experts. Okay. Finally, my recommendation is to simply use these 3 bullet points that I share with you as a checklist to help ensure you're starting things off on a solid foundation in the future. One that is of trust with a mutual goal in mind so that the end result is something that everyone can be proud of. Okay. This fear trap isn't something that newbies go through. I want to finish off and just say that it's something that we all go through. I have been in business for myself for 14 years now. And just last summer, I was stuck deep into this fear trap myself. And I've had a couple slips since then. It happens to the best of us. When it happens, lean into your instincts and regularly practice quieting those fears. I promise you, it is an exercise that is worth having. And you can do it while you're driving down the road. You can do it in the shower. You can do it when you're sitting at the dinner table and nobody's having a conversation. Do have that in your head going on. You can let that go if you make it a regular practice. And remember, hiring an expert shouldn't feel or should 100% feel like a collaboration, not a Hail Mary pass, not a last ditch effort to make this happen because I need a savior or everything's going to burn. Okay. Hire from clarity, not from fear. You don't have to rush into anything. You don't have to follow trends. And you sure as hell don't have to hire someone because some reel or TikTok or Facebook post or whatever told you that you had to do it. Okay. When you decide to finally bring somebody on board, be ready to actually listen to them because honestly, the magic doesn't happen from the hire. The magic happens when you collaborate together to create something incredible in the end. That is it for this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you next week. Is the last episode of season 2. And I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I promise you it's going to be a good one. So, and I've got a million ideas for season 3. I just need a little break so that I can see them through. So take care, my friends. I will see you all next week. And until we meet again, may success be yours. Thanks for tuning in to the Solo Grind. I hope this episode brought you some inspiration and encouragement. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast, and feel free to share. For more tips and insights, visit caffeinecreative.io to check out my blog or explore the Creative Vault, my free course library. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. I'd love to hear how this episode has helped you.